Did you know there's a sound so low, so deep, you don't hear it with your ears? You feel it. In your bones. In your pulse. In the spaces between your thoughts. In a remote desert town, people say they hear something that shouldn't exist. A hum. A vibration. A presence. And no instrument, no microphone, no detector has ever confirmed it. It began in whispers, in restless nights, in minds stretched thin by darkness. They say it started around the early 1990s, late at night, after the desert cooled, when the wind lulled. A few voices rose. Then more. And the hum became Taos's secret. Some say they first noticed it as a faint pressure in their ears. A distant drone under a bed. A pulsing echo in the walls. It would come in waves, soft, then strong, distant, then suffocating. Others say it's constant, always there, like the world itself is breathing. Those who hear it often describe it as an engine that never revs up, a rumble under their skin, a tidal pulse they can't outrun. They wake in pain. They can't sleep. Their nerves hum louder than silence. One hearer described lying awake, fingers trembling, nails digging into sheets, the low tone growing until it felt like molten metal in his skull. Another said it crawled along her bones like ants, relentless and alive. Attempts to block it fail. Earplugs. White noise. Thick walls. Soundproofing. All useless. It seeps in. It finds cracks. It occupies every quiet corner. Scientists came. They arrived with gear, instruments, sensors, hope. Los Alamos. Sandia. The University of New Mexico. They placed acoustic monitors, seismic detectors, electromagnetic sensors in homes. They spread arrays across mesas and valleys. They tested power lines, pipelines, wells, underground tunnels. They drilled, they mapped, they calibrated. They listened for months. They adjusted for wind, temperature, humidity. They chased shadows of sound. And they found nothing. No consistent signal. No origin point. No source that matched what hearers insisted was there. Not even a faint echo that could be traced. The official reports grew uneasy. In documents, they admitted that the phenomenon defied explanation. One line stands out: we are left with a mystery. Hearers became haunted not just by the hum, but by the silence of science. They became invisible sufferers. People who live daily horror no one can prove. They call themselves hearers, a reluctant club. They share their stories quietly in forums, in support groups, in midnight emails. They trade theories. They debate frequency. They swap jitters and dreams. In private, some admit they fear they're losing their minds. When no one believes you, doubt becomes the loudest noise. I spoke to one hearer who'd moved into an RV, far from town. He said the hum followed him. He carried the vibration in his body like a curse. They say he ended most nights in tears. Another told me she tried moving to a coastal city. She said the hum died down for a while, just enough. Then it returned, soft, insistent, waiting until she abandoned the move. Because silence offered no refuge. A third said she heard it even in dreams. At night, the hum whispered. It grew louder in her subconscious until she'd bolt awake, drenched in sweat, tangled in sheets. They say the only nights they attract peace are those so stormy that the hum is drowned out. But in the calm, it returns. As if the world breathes again, and in that breathing, it pulses. Across the globe, isolated towns report the same, low-frequency hums that defy recording. Bristol, England. Windsor, Canada. Auckland, New Zealand. Towns in Scotland. Small cities in Canada and the US. An identical cruelty, a few people hear. The rest do not. A shared suffering across continents. In Windsor, some traced their hum to industrial plants, compressors, factories, cooling towers. They shut parts down. Claims dropped. But some held there was residual hum, persisting even after the machinery ceased. As if the sound had taken root in minds. In other places, folks never traced anything, no factory, no pipelines, no man-made culprit. Only the hum. The pattern is eerie. Across cultures and geography, roughly 1 to 3% report hearing it. The number holds. A constant in the noise. Why does it afflict only a fraction? Why here, there, now? What makes some ears more vulnerable? Let's explore the theories, stretch your mind, feel the edges of possibility. Industrial and mechanical explanations suggest distant machines, engines, compressors, pipelines. Ultra-low frequencies travel far, especially across plains or through ground. But in Taos, no industrial source matches the pattern. No factory, no station, no sound they could trace. Geological theories suggest the Earth itself might be singing. Subterranean faults, cavities, underground water systems. Under certain conditions, pressure shifts, wind, rock resonance, the desert might hum. Tiny vibrations amplified by geology. Natural standing waves in the crust. Electromagnetic theories go deeper. What if the hum isn't a sound at all, but a signal? Very low frequency waves. Fields that pass through us. Not sound through ears, but something that tickles the nervous system. You don't hear it, you interpret it. Internal auditory theories describe spontaneous emissions from the cochlea. Phantom vibrations created by damaged hair cells. But these don't explain shared timing. Shared sensations. And tinnitus is usually high-pitched. The hum is low, heavy, primal. Some suspect neurological hypersensitivity. The mind interpreting ambient noise, refrigerators, transformers, distant traffic, as threatening. A loop of perception and stress. The more you fear it, the louder it grows. Then there are the strange ones. The conspiratorial. What if it's a test? A weapon? A sonic experiment from an unknown source? Some believe the hum is targeting people selectively. A code meant only some can decode. A broadcast from below. Or above. Some say it's not from this world. No theory covers it all. Each explains a piece. None explain everything. That's where the terror lives. Imagine hearing something no one else hears. Feeling it in your bones. Describing it only to be met with smiles. Or silence. Or worse, pity. And then, one night, someone else hears it too. I'll tell you one more story. A man moved far into the desert. No neighbors. No lines. No hum. He thought he'd escaped. But one night it returned, stronger, clearer, closer. He said he stood outside, barefoot in the sand, eyes closed. And he realized it wasn't coming from around him. It was coming from below. Another story, someone built a Faraday cage around their bed. For a few nights, the hum faded. Then it came back, louder, as if it was angry. Some hearers say the hum has intelligence, that it changes, watches, reacts, that it waits for silence, for stillness, for surrender. They say once you hear it, it never really leaves. Even if it stops, it waits, buried like a memory, ready to rise. And maybe it's not meant to be understood. Maybe it exists in the space between measurement and madness. A crack in the sensory world. A leak from something deeper. Maybe the hum isn't from here at all. If you lie awake tonight and it's too quiet, listen closely. Feel your chest. Feel the bed. Feel the room press against you. And if you hear something, you're not alone. Share this with someone who sleeps with the lights off. Comment if you've ever felt something no one else could sense. And follow if you want more sounds you were never meant to hear.